Hey, it's been a great day. We caught the both edges of the note early, and we caught one edge of the E-mini early, and there's been some great trading done in the room today. So we have a lot to be thankful for. That's the way it should be. Okay, looking at this screen, we've got a lower high, a lower low, and volume is below yesterday's volume. So are we selling strength or buying weakness? Selling strength. I like that. Yes, and that's the only conclusion we come to on this. Obviously, we've got news now. There's fistfights in the Italian parliament over raising the retirement age from 65 to 67 over 15 years. It just doesn't even, it really doesn't compute in, half of our national psyche, those kind of deals. We have an announcement that the banks by the summer of 2012 have to raise their capitalization rate to 9%. Now, the problem with that is where does that money come from? And the EU has told them they've got to do it privately. So, if they're going to do it privately, they've got to go in there and value their assets. They're going to have to, they can't mark to market, they have to mark to market, they can't carry them at face. And that means you're going to have shareholder dilution. Well, nobody likes, if you're a shareholder, you don't like that deal. If the government recapitalize them, which is where I imagine this is going to end up, you will have taxpayers have to pay it. But what they do get out of this is they've got 8 months of kicking the can down the road on the major banks over there. So they've delayed the day of reckoning on paper for 8 months. Now the market may take care of it for them. Greek adhering and meeting the budget has been, the details of the haircut on that paper at the central banks has been tabled, details forthcoming. So, and then there's the rumor that China's going to come in and help this, and Sarkozy is going to talk to Chairman Wei about Europe's dilemma and see if he can get some help from China. Now, Europe doesn't have an army, and Europe doesn't have an air force. They do have nuclear weapons, so China really doesn't have to control or own European debt to control them. They don't have the means to defend themselves. So what does China get out of this? If China sees a big market for their products in Europe, and Europe didn't open their borders across the board to Chinese-made products with tariffs and the rest of that, they might do something. But that would require Europe lowering the tariffs that protect their own manufacturers. So, again, the solution is obvious. The willingness to make that is not. To make the correct decisions is not. So, politicians do what politicians do. They kick the can down the road, hoping somebody else's name is on the door when the bills come due. And that's where we are. So, what Occam's razor, what is the most likely outcome? It's the simplest one. And the markets will force them to do what they're trying not to do. Now, what could turn this whole thing around? Growth. And how do you get growth? Lower taxes? Well, you can forget that one. Decrease regulations? What would they do in Brussels? That can be done, but it'll be hard to do. Require the pigs nations to cut spending and adhere to their promises to cut spending. So require the pigs to act. Well, they haven't figured out how to do that yet. You can ask and you can tell them to do something, but if they don't do it, what are you going to do? Invade Italy? Invade Spain? Probably not. So again, I just don't see that a lot's happened except details forthcoming. They kick the bank problem 6 months, 8 months down the road. So we'll see. So my guess is that whatever the outcome is, and they're already talking about a November 3rd meeting where the details will be announced. Between now and November 3rd, I think people will be setting up some pretty good shorts. Well, you know, one thing France has going in their favor if China is to take their country over and impose their language on them is that the Chinese uh, eat stranger foods than some people in France eat. So that would be a plus. The two cultures have that in common. In fact, the Chinese probably have them beat on that deal. But I mean, what's in it for China for taking on bad European debt? Now, becoming the heavyweight at every world's economic conference, that would be a benefit for them, and it might be worth a billion, $100 billion or so. But much past that, and we know that it takes, most people think about 2.7 trillion to clean up this problem. So growth is one way to do this. And how can Europe grow? I mean, ask yourself, how can Europe grow? And that's tough. Now, one way compared to the United States, keeping the government the same as it is right now, but just relaxing the Department of Energy and the EPA just for energy production, which would be very, very difficult to do under this administration, is that we set a 20-year goal to become energy independent. Listen, we are the Saudi Arabia in coal. We're the Saudi Arabia of natural gas, it appears now. And if you can wring oil, crude oil, and distillates from rocks, and they look like they're getting closer to doing that, we'll be the Saudi Arabia of crude oil too. So there's no reason we can't be energy independent, and that would take $700 billion that is really going to thugs and rogue regimes and our enemies. I mean, even Brazil. You think Brazil's our friend? Look who they side with when we ask for favors. So it's just that one thing alone makes America's situation much different than Europe's situation. So it can be done, and growth solves a lot of problems, no doubt about it. But how do you get that growth? So right now, my guess, it may be November 3rd before the short sets up. I don't know. And if China comes in and France is able to convince them to put some real dollars into this, I mean, we got 400 billion euros, which is about $700 million, probably less than that now. So China puts in $300 billion. That takes them to 1T. We leverage it 2 times. We're getting closer. So, I mean, something like that out of the blue magnitude would certainly rally the market and take it higher. No doubt about that. But the F1 screen right here says sell strength to test support. The devil is always in the details. Now, what does that do for us as traders? We can expect big, wide market swings. We should expect more range from our trades. We should expect higher volatility. One way to approach that is to keep your losses small and tight and take more trades. Approach the market from a probing standpoint. Once you're in a trade that looks like it's going your way, stick with it longer. That's how it helps us or benefits us as traders. Now, looking at this split, we could make the case maybe higher. Looking at that split right there, it still leans P. There's more volume in the top half of it. Just going into this congestion area that we have right here, that's definitely leaning P. Add a little bit more, not so P. And you can see in the congestion area that we got this big volume spike up at 48, but we also have volume down here at 34. So not going to be too hard for this market to trade a bit higher and fill in volume in this area. But to break it out up here, I do think takes a comprehensive deal out of the EU. And we've already been told that we're not going to get a comprehensive deal. So my guess is we're looking at a selling opportunity unfolding before our very eyes. Now, we had great trades in the morning. We were on top of that. The market did just exactly what we thought it was going to do and more. And just think about the difference in trading till around 12 o'clock today, 1 o'clock, and the difference trading after 1 o'clock Eastern today. The market is going higher for sure. The 50 lot trader really didn't abandon his position very much, but some shorts did cover, no doubt. So we're gonna, if we close right here, we've got net sales of 15,000 today. Some of that for sure is long liquidation, not new shorts. And but looking at that pain number 3 right there, not too hard to get short in the 40, 41 area, leaning at 40 like we did this morning. So if we come in tomorrow and there's no new news and they're still working out the details and we fail to trade through 1240, 1250, we can get short. Now, I am asked daily, where do you get these numbers? And my starting point is the decimal system. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 50, 75, 100, okay? So if I look right here at this screen, and let's say we close right here at 36.50. Here's 40, there's 45, there's 50, there's 55. So where is there's my market number. And right there's my B period high. So that's resistance 1. Right here's 45. Well, I've got a balance point right there. That's number 2. Right here's 50. And I got a little dent in the volume right there, and I got a 4/5 letter ledge, and I got a value area high right there. Well, that's my third point. And that's 54.50, which is 55 plus or minus. And there's my low volume number, and I'm close to that. So there's my 4 resistance points. Okay, I close it at 36. There's 30. There's 25. There's 20. And there's 15. So I got a low volume number right here. I've got my weighted volume mean right there. So there's my first support. There's 30. Right here is 25. I've got a J period low right here. There's 2. Right here is 20. I've got a 3-letter ledge and a 2-letter ledge right there. There's 3. There's 17. And there's 15. So there's 4. How did I figure my levels? Decimally, 5, 10, 15, 20. I mark those. Then I go back into the most recent history and I find pivot highs, pivot lows, low volume numbers, high volume numbers, value area, value, modes, weighted volume means. I mean, come on. Now, you came in at 54. I come in at 55. Given the sloppiness of this contract, are we really that different? Well, you said 55, Charlie. I said 54. I'm different. Yeah, you are. You missed me by 4 ticks. And Bill, with your experience on the floor, you could make a hell of a living off of 5s. Other people that aren't as nimble as you probably couldn't. But so where do these numbers come from? Markets trade market numbers, and the rounder, the more significant, the bigger the market number, the more important it is. It's kind of like an hourly high versus a daily high versus a weekly high versus a monthly high versus a yearly high. Each one of those numbers will bring in opposite activity, but what is the significance of the yearly high versus an hourly high? Quite a bit of differences in the significance of it. Okay, lower high, higher low, volume lower today, higher lower sideways on this screen. And we do have the 7-year auction tomorrow. What would you guess? First, we got to see what comes out of Europe overnight. Any more fights in the Italian parliament? Wonder what type of damage we had physically down there. I know the verbal insults are probably coming pretty hot and heavy. So we got the news to get through. We are lower than yesterday's high. We are above yesterday's low, and volume is right here, right in the middle of the distribution. So this kind of a setup, coupled with the 7-year auction, without news, I would say we've got a trading range. And given our close, we're probably a little lower in the overnight session, but we're probably going to find buying in that 28 even to 28.08 area again. They can't let the bottom fall out of the market. They won't sell any 7-year paper. If there's no agreement out of Europe tomorrow, will that be better or worse for our auction? Be better. So on this one, not getting a lot of help on tomorrow's direction. Now, if we fold the whole day session in, we're looking at a P, not put in the right way, but put in backwards. And we're also looking at some single prints over in this area, and a very, very clean break, say in the 12 to 14 area in the volume. Most recent in the market's memory, and that price point would be 15 or 16, somewhere in there. So we're pretty close to support right here. So can we break the market? I'll do an I split. Not quite a move out of the middle. J looks to be a little better. Got a J split, and I got all that night volume in there, and I don't want to look at it, so we'll go look at the day volume. Now, what do you see on this? Up, down, or sideways when you look at the day sessions? And I'll put my cursor on it, but that right there is probably 129 is maybe the top of value. And if I come down here and look at this, maybe, I'll kind of split this. Maybe 128.12 to 14 is the bottom of value. One area kind of stands out. Maybe being a buyer in this against 12 might be something that we could do. Maybe they get cute and go get stops below 128.04, 05. So 128 even to maybe 128.04 is pretty good support. Have to start thinking about being a buyer in that 28 area. So where is support and resistance? I had us closing at 18. So here's my close right here. So market number 20, 24, 28, the buck, and 4 and 8. So I've got a close right here, pretty close to 8. I've got a high right here, pretty close to 4. I've got a value area high right here and an H period high pretty close to the buck, or 129. I've got an I period high right here at 29, pretty close to 28. What do I have at 24? I have a J period high at 26. Got a little dent at 24, so maybe that number's 24, 26. What do I have at 20? Got a K period high at 22. Got a low volume number at 20. What do I have at 16? Got a 3-letter ledge. So where is support and resistance if I close at 18? Off of this, 20 to 22, 24 to 26, 28, 29, and picking up the last two at the buck to 04. Now, is that outside of, I mean, it's just where it is. Okay, on the downside, I got to close at 18. I've got I don't want to get, I've got a low volume number at a 3-letter ledge at 16. I've got the low at 14 or 13 and a half. So I could make it 14 to 16 with a close at 18. Or I could make it 12 to 13 and a half. Where's 8? Got a little 2-letter ledge here at A. That picks that up. I've got a 3-letter ledge at 8. So I've got 8. And then I've got 4, 5. Actually, it's 4 down to the buck for my 4th level. Or the buck, 04 to, yeah, that'd be right, 00 to 04. We're looking at a P put in backwards. We're looking at a 7-year auction. We're looking at news out of the EU. And what's tomorrow's news that we got to go through? Jobless claims, 402. Comes in greater than 410, we'll get a boost. Comes in less than 392, we'll get hit. Advanced GDP. Based on what has happened in the month of September and early October, everybody has raised their estimates from 2% GDP to 2.3. Comes in greater than 2.5, will hurt this market. Deflators, they're looking at 2.5. No one's really paying a lot of attention to that. Pending home sales minus 9/10. So what's the news hierarchy tomorrow? Jobless claims, probably takes a second seat to GDP. Then once this news is out of the way, we're going to go back to the EU. So based on our trading range call and a close at 18, 24 to 28 should be pretty good resistance. A very, very aggressive sell would be 19 to 23. Preferred sell would be 23, 27 to get started. On the buy side, that 12 area right here, leaning against that. We're at 18, maybe stops below 16, so maybe on a stretch we're able to buy 9 to 13. May have to pay 17s or better to get in. I don't know. Okay, is there any question on how I went through this or how I came to my conclusions or what's driving it? Just like 5, 10, 15, 20, the most magical number is 0, 0. The second most magical number is 16. The third most magical numbers are 24 and 8. That's the hierarchy on this. So you stir all this together and you come up with a overall market call, and the A, B, and PB numbers. Well, I always want to buy cheaper and I want to sell more expensive. So my aggressive buy numbers, let's say the E-mini sells and there's no announcement out of Europe, and they go get stops below 17. Does everybody have these numbers? JB, you got them? Okay. Okay, here's volume, and a rule number 2 trade would have me entering against volume. Better yet, buy below volume. So where might I pull this off? I've got a low volume number at 9. I've got high volume in here, so buying 9s to 13s makes some sense to me. And my premise mark is trading range, and that's the only way I can come up with this call, is say trading range tomorrow. If I didn't come up with trading range, I couldn't make that kind of call. Okay, I have my close right here. I've got a low volume number at 20. Low volume numbers of support and resistance. I got the bottom of value right there. And I've got some volume up at 26. So I would love to get short above 26. I don't know if I can get short. So the market's at 18. I've got a low volume number at 20. The aggressive sell is 19 to 23. And then the preferred sell at 23 to 27 picks up this high volume area right there. And I can only make that call. Number one, I'd like to be long below volume and short above it or value. I can only look for these numbers to be good if it's my trading range idea holds up. So I am bringing to the table my call for a trading range based on my experience and what I see in the news. Now, that doesn't mean I'm right, just what you wanted to hear, but we've thought through this. So if tomorrow we open in that 16 or 17 area, hell, I'm putting 19s out there. I already know that I want to sell 19s to 23. If we open in the 24 or 25 area, I'm probably going to put 27s out there and try to get short above that because I've thought this through beforehand. So I've already thought this through in the various scenarios, and wherever the market opens or whatever it does, I can quickly go to tactics that will take advantage of that. And that is why it's really important for you to go through this exercise too. Because I may not be in the room and I may not be on the phone, be reachable on the phone. Charlie, can I buy it or sell it here? Remember, the objective is to make you a trader. The objective is to make you an independent trader. So I've waxed siliphosical for way too long. Any other questions? I have a long afternoon and evening ahead of me, and I got some work that I need to do. Anything else? Y'all have a great evening. We'll see you at 0700 hours Central Daylight Time, mañana.